Helen, we got Jeff and Julie with us.
Yes, we do.
Just us, they call themselves.
Yeah.
And I want you to know I enjoyed every song I heard from
I did
them in that
too.
10-song set.
Y'all are really
I enjoyed
good.
having barbecue with them a while back, not long ago, in McKinney at Hutchins, the best barbecue.
Oh, that was so
I'll
good.
agree with that. That was
Oh,
so
yeah.
good. We had
Yeah.
never been there before, and it was wonderful.
Yeah, I'm planning on having lunch there day after tomorrow. Maybe it could happen. I've heard rumors.
Yeah.
I'll be at work.
So, guys, your music was just really cool because it stands out to me in every way. I think you're Kerrville. You're not only Kerrville material, you're a Kerrville winner type material.
Wow, thank you.
Definitely.
If you'll get in there and go for it, because you've got a different feel, different vibes to different. I mean, you're a fine guitarist and fine guitar player, but more important than the chords you play is the way you play them and the dynamics that you give as an accompanist. I know to accompany Helen, it's not easy all the time because you want to play into the wheelhouse, you know.
Yeah.
You do a great job of that. So
thank you.
I want to hear really about both y'all. I know we've talked earlier, and I know that we have Oregon as
Is
a
our
little
home.
bit
Hometown.
of as a little bit of a commonality.
Yeah.
But let's start with Julie. And Julie, tell everybody where you were born and raised, and kind of how you got to the point of meeting this gentleman.
Oh,
Take
my.
us there.
Oh, my. I was born in Astoria, Oregon, where the mighty Columbia meets the vast
That's right.
Pacific Ocean.
The end of the Lewis and Clark.
Yeah, the end of the Lewis and Clark Trail. That is exactly true. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, you know, it's always gray there. My parents used to take us to Central Oregon every year for 2 weeks to get away from the gray, because although it's really green there on the coast, it's also really gray. You have a lot of rain. And so we would go to where the sky was always blue and the sun was always shining. And when I got old enough to move away, I moved to where the sky was always blue and the sun was always shining. And I ended up being there for 30 years, basically, married to someone else. But, you know, long story short, you know, I do not ever regret those moments, those days, because that brought me 2 kids, and once they were gone, you know, we just kind of went our separate ways. But that's where I met this man, and at the age of 50, I decided I was going to learn how to play guitar, and I was as a office manager in a CPA office. Every day I would go into his restaurant with my guitar and practice my chords.
And where was this?
That was in Lapine, Oregon.
Okay.
It's just south of Bend in Central Oregon.
Up in the mountains.
Up in the mountains. 3 months of beautiful, clear blue, sunshiny skies and 9 months of winter.
How far from Sisters?
About 50 miles.
Yeah.
About
Right around
50
there.
miles
Okay.
or so, and
Love it.
it's a beautiful place, and trees, and it took me years, because I was there for 30 years, to realize that those places that I had gone camping all of those years when I was younger, and I'd bring home postcards, was actually the backdrop to my life. It's a really weird, bizarre feeling seeing those things on a daily basis. It took me 10 years just to get past that.
Yeah.
But, you know, music-wise, I was not a singer. I was not a musician. I did write some songs, some poetry, and I wanted to put music to my poetry, basically, which is why I was learning how to play guitar. And Jeff, being the musician he is, and a great cook, he, you know, musicians, guitar players, they can smell the moment wood walks through the door. And I happened to have a guitar in a case, and he came back and sniffed it out and showed me how good he was, which made me feel completely inadequate.
Thanks, Jen.
Well, she was.
And I was, you know, I was inadequate, and I'm still inadequate, but I can change my chords without looking. Yes. You know, which is a really good thing, you know, and my timing is getting better. So I can write things to what I know, which is the most important part. and I can
I
actually
agree.
get those things
That-
get those thoughts out of my head and onto paper and in out there somewhere. That's just not inside of me anymore, and that's where we got together. My life fell apart, and
My life fell apart.
And so you walk into his restaurant.
yeah, with a guitar.
Okay, now I'm going to pause you right there. Tell us.
Guitar.
Tell us about. tell us about your growing up, where you're born and raised, and bring us to that same time.
All right. I was born in Salem, Oregon, and the spot that she always went to get to those beautiful blue skies and those beautiful mountains is where I grew up. I lived there for 50-plus years in Bend, and
High desert.
in the high desert, gorgeous, gorgeous. So many people here in Texas think that we have webbed feet, because we're from Oregon, right? And if you picture the state, 1/3 of the state, which is next to the Pacific, and of course the Cascade Mountain Range goes through.
And the Willamette Valley.
Right, all of that is the rain area.
Mm-hmm.
The mountains are so big, they stop all the clouds. Everything on the other side of the mountains is sagebrush, jackrabbits, and rattlesnakes.
Same thing. Like Colorado's the same way. It stops.
Very
yeah,
much.
It's like
Very much the
Colorado.
same.
It's like
Yeah,
Arizona.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But I grew up there. I started in music when I was very young. At the age of 12, I started performing in bars only because my junior high school band instructor's drummer, he had a nightclub act, his drummer got in a car accident, couldn't perform. I was a drummer then for him in stage band and all that. And he said, everybody in town knows you anyway. Why don't you play drums with me until... So that was my first taste of
You're 12.
12 years old,
Okay.
performing in bars.
Wow.
And that mom and dad only let me go because I'm
With teacher, yeah.
teacher, and there's stories that when we're having a beer around a fire sometime, I'll tell you about that. But that kind of got me started. I did music all of my life pretty much. I did some touring for a few years. Had a bus that was mine. I lived in it. I actually had my wife and child travel with me for a while. Did a lot of those things. I then ended up back in Bend, where I had the good fortune of starting to work for Breedlove Guitar. And, it's amazing. I was already in my 50s, late 40s, 50s when I started with Breedlove. And I thought I knew things. I sold guitars at music stores. I was an instrument repair tech. So I can play all instruments because you have to play them to fix them.
Right.
So I play all woodwinds, all brass, string instruments. And I thought I knew a lot. And I went to Breedlove and realized how ignorant I was.
Yeah, for the uninitiated, Breedlove is a really fine guitar builder in Bend, Oregon.
Yeah, they are. They're offshoot of Taylor.
Right.
And but yeah,
Better
they're
guitars.
great guitars. Got to build for some wonderful people, and some great stories on that. Madonna had us do a guitar that she sent us the note that she wanted to have us build the guitar for the Grammys. It was going to be her announcement to the world that she plays guitar, because all of her lessons and everything were in secret. Texas gentleman by the name of Monty Pittman taught her. And Monty's out of Longview. And sure, got 13 days. So we got the guitar to her. Story goes, the guitar arrived at the Grammys, at her dressing room. She came out of the shower. Her manager says, "Em, your guitar's here." She comes out. She grabs the guitar. She goes in the closet to play it. And she yells out, "Tell Guy I found a new lover." They'd only been married for a few years. And when you guys come over to the house, and you're going to come over, I've got a poster on the wall that has that guitar with her image in it, but it's not in real.
Right.
And it says, "Madonna's found a new love."
Neat.
Guy calls us up after the show and says, "I'm pissed at you guys." And we're like, "What?" Because we all went over that guitar 100 times.
Yeah.
It was perfect. Says, "As you can imagine, everyone who's anyone, Sir Paul McCartney, Sir Elton John, The Who, Grateful Dead. Everybody came to Madonna's room to pay respects. Guess who they met first? Not the new husband.
The guitar.
Then he ordered 13 more.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. Then after Breedlove, I ended up in Lapine, where
Which is just up the road.
it's 16, 18 miles, something like that. Out of, I guess you're right. I guess
About
more
30.
closer to 30. I had bought a restaurant there. Food and music go together really well. So I've cooked most of my life, and I've done everything from 5-star to ma and pa type restaurants. So I opened up my own place that I decided our motto there was, you're going to get a 4-star meal for a cafe price. Everything was done fresh. We had great customers that came in, and that's where Julie and I met. She would come in and eat lunch there on a regular basis. And one, she was just dang pretty.
Mm-hmm.
And two, she had a guitar.
And then you heard her sing, and whoa, it was over, huh?
Oh, that was the end of that.
You know, the one thing that he did leave out of that is why he stopped touring.
Well,
He stopped touring. And that's the negative side of it. You know, he goes from music, I'm playing music, and then I'm doing other things. But pretty much it was for family. And like so many people that were doing music back during that time frame, there are those who just were able to just keep on going on. But his daughter, while he was on the road, got sick. And he couldn't, nobody would help him because he was traveling through. Nobody wanted the responsibility.
doctor wouldn't take me in. So.
And that basically stopped it. And
I told the band I had to make a choice, you know, and my kids got to come first.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
Marriage is one thing. If you're married to a musician, the band comes first. if there's a child, the kid comes first. You know, I mean that was me. That's what happened.
so here we are, and the ironic thing is getting back into the music. I'm kind of his foray back into music.
Yeah,
And he's dragging me along. I'm not kicking and screaming, mind you.
not at all. No.
Not at all. But every day, whenever we go home from, like when we're on our way home from here tonight, I'm going to take his hand across the middle of the truck and I'm going to say, thank you so much for dragging me into your life. Because as
It's been nonstop.
for me, this would not have been my life.
Well, Julie, it's not his life; it's y'all's life.
It is
right.
our life. It is
It's what
our
you've
life.
created.
But without him, I would not be here.
You know, when we first
I
started,
really wouldn't.
when we first started just getting acquainted, I'm telling her stories, you know, of my musical background, and you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. And she's kind of like, you know, oh, he's so cute, but he's so full of shit. You know, and it's just like, my God, how's
Helen
he?
said the same thing
I
about
say the
you
same
all
damn thing.
Yeah, you know, and then
He's such a nice man, but he's what is it with all these stories? That's what I kept thinking. What is it with all these stories? And then I got with him anyway. And then his friends start showing up, you know,
All the
his
guys that I
friends
toured
he used
with
to
and-
tour with, and they come in, and the whole singing songs from 25 years ago on I know is just absolutely crazy. But the ironic thing about it is them to start talking about these stories that I had written off.
Yeah.
thought I was full of it.
Oh man!
no.
And I'm looking at him going, "That's real?
true?
That's real." And his answer to me is always, "I don't have to lie about this.
I had a great
I
life.
don't have to lie about this." And his friends are going, "You have no idea."
I think Christopherson said partly truth and partly fiction, didn't he?
Yeah,
right.
partly
That's
true.
right.
But you know, it's just the whole musician thing. Musicians are who they are. It is not what they do.
But through all the people that I got to work with, I can honestly say that this is by far the relationship in working. Married or not, as a musician, as a writer, as a performer, people don't understand how much math there is in music. They don't understand dynamics. They don't understand all of this stuff. Julie's background was not music, mine was. Coming together, and She has been the best student, for lack of a better word, of grasping what I do, learning.
She bought,
She teaches as well.
but she bought into your life.
100%.
And then what I see, though, that she really brings, I mean, she brings to the party a soul that was missing. That I feel the
Absolutely.
same way with Helen. You know, so I totally understand.
Yeah, it's
the
a wonderful
situation.
feeling. It's
Yeah.
just great.
Yeah.
And as far as going to a music store, oh yeah, oh yeah. I go in there to buy something, and it's like I'm looking at speakers, and I've got a budget. And she knows me really well. I was brought up on stage stuff. You know, everything I've worked with, my whole musical life has been top quality auditorium stuff, you know. And I'll look at speakers and I go, well, you know, these are, honey, get the good ones. You're not going to be happy. Yes, we're going for a new guitar.
You see, Randy goes to the music store without me and comes home with a guitar.
There you go. There you go.
There have been a few times she's told me to buy a guitar.
You know, it's
Once.
for yeah. There you go.
Well, that's a few in a man's mind.
Once.
No, there's more than
Once.
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 No, I'm not talking about emphatically.
I am.
What were you saying? Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, we have some parallel lines we run
yeah.
down. And I think,
do.
too, you know, I can honestly say, you know, he was married previously, I was married previously, you guys the same, and we found each other later in life like you two have. And I think that's where the appreciation really happens, and you want to make the most out of the remainder of the lives you have together because you finally found your person.
That's
you
right.
know?
But you no longer can be just a complete individual. See, that's why I think you give up a little bit of being an individual, but especially when it comes down to the points of disagreement or where you have, because if you're not willing to give 100% at all time, a relationship will never work.
That's true. That is true.
You don't want to. You're willing to fight against it a lot of times. But when it comes down to it, is the disagreement valid or is the relationship valid?
That's true.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's true.
Yeah.
So
You two have a CD that's out already.
Yes.
And we talked about your website. Go ahead and tell everybody about your website, where they can find you, where they can find your music.
Okay, we are on. It's www.just-usmusic.com.
hyphen dash.
Yeah, like a dash.
Okay.
Just-usmusic.com. And that's where we have our CD for sale, for sure. It's also on CD Baby. We'd rather have it go through us because then we don't have to pay fees on it.
Right, absolutely.
You got whatever you do, guys. Find out where they're going to be playing and go see them and buy the CDs right there where they can autograph those things.
There you
Yeah,
go.
there
And you're
you go.
also currently working on another CD, I understand.
Yes.
That's never ending.
Actually, we
know?
did this one, and we, when you're figuring out what songs you're going to put on your CD, and you have your list of 30 or 35, and you start having to pick the babies off and put them aside. Yeah, that's
It's
when we
an odd
realized
feeling, isn't it?
it's
Yeah,
a
it
really
is.
bad
But I won't-
feeling.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that really started at that time when we
Right.
realized that we had another CD that we could do. Which was kind of a surprise, ironically enough. And we're still writing. We have a couple of new songs out that we're doing now that we're
We
working
talked
on.
about doing them tonight, but we just,
Get them down.
it's like,
'em
not
as-
yet.
Well,
Not
not
yet.
when
ready,
you come
you know.
back here to do a studio concert, we'll get to hear those, and they'll get those recorded here.
There you
Yes,
go.
we
There
would
you
love
go.
to do that.
And I understand, too,
But we
you
can always do an album for you, too, if you need.
That is
absolutely.
true.
We are a
We
recording
did
studio.
10 songs tonight.
There you go. There you go.
And you also, I understand, are doing your first house concert in Houston.
In Houston,
Good.
at Stouffer's Stars.
And
is where we're
Ken
gonna be.
Gaines, yes, I've heard about them, that group. But Ken Gaines, you need to pay attention to
Definitely.
these folks. You're going to get a phone call from me tomorrow.
Thank
That would
you.
be wonderful.
That would be
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
We do know Ken. I mean, we've met Ken. And
You need to know
wonderful
him.
gentleman.
He's
Yeah.
awesome.
He's
Yeah.
one of the best. I think everybody in the room that knows him would agree with that.
Actually, he's going to be here at the end of the year, isn't he?
He is going to be here. In fact, George Inslee, I missed calling George today, so I got to call him tomorrow. But normally I have George or Ken during a given calendar year do either a song swap or some other than the Christmas show.
Right.
But neither one of them are here this year.
Oh, really?
Are on the calendar this year. And I'm trying to figure out how to maybe...
Well, Ken is for
either-
Christmas, so we'll see
Yeah.
him.
Well, we're going to make something happen real early next year, I have a feeling.
That's a good idea.
So,
Neat.
with especially with George.
Yeah.
You know, it's time.
Y'all, it's been fab. I can't wait to do this again and us get together outside of the studio as well.
That would be
Absolutely.
wonderful. Barbecue.
And, yeah, there you go.
What are y'all doing over the next few days?
Nothing.
Actually, nothing tomorrow. Nothing on Thursday.
I bought some baby back ribs today.
Ooh,
There you go.
there you go.
Over the next few
Yeah,
days, y'all.
we're playing at Lecca in Dallas on Friday night. So
What is that?
Lecca, Lekka. It's on Preston, just
Okay.
south of George Bush.
Neat
Wonderful.
place.
What
They
is
got
it?
great food.
Restaurant?
It's a
It's
restaurant.
a restaurant. They actually got
bar.
a store up front that has. You walk into the place, you think it's a gardening kind of shop. They've got all kinds of pottery and
Oh, wow.
stuff out in the
Uh-huh.
outdoors fenced area. You come indoors, and they have stunning pieces for the house, for the walls. None of it's cheap.
Yeah.
But it's beautiful stuff.
But it's all one of a kind.
Preston
so
and
it's
where?
Preston and just south of Frankfurt.
Okay. So
Yeah,
between
that
Arapahoe
food is
between
incredible.
Campbell and Franklin.
Big
Yeah,
pies.
Oh, their pies are amazing.
Big
We'll just have a pie for dinner. That's all.
Yeah.
My mom lives with us, and every time that we play there, we take her home a big old chunk of pie.
Yeah. Yeah, well, so you guys
Excuse me.
be sure and find these folks. And your calendar, I'm sure, is going to be on
Oh
your
yeah, the
website.
calendar,
too,
and
right?
I work with that every single day. So
All right.
yeah, it's
Website
always up
and
to date.
on Facebook?
Yes.
So it's available both places. And if you can't find them, call me and I'll run them down for you.
All right.
And
You guys are super.
For our listening audience, y'all, thank you for being here, and keep tuning in because you are in the music room. Are in the music room. Are in the music room. Are